The interior provided in AMT's Mack R kit is quite well detailed. Per the instructions, seats, dash, and other components are assembled first. Then the interior tub is glued into the cab, which is then detailed as its own subassembly, and finally gets attached to the frame late in the assembly sequence. I prefer to take a different approach, with the interior tub being permanently attached early in the assembly sequence. This makes it much easier to run wiring, heater hoses, and other details into the cab. Interior door panel detail is molded in fairly shallow relief, and the floor itself is smooth, with the exception of locating tabs for the seats and 4 very prominent ejector pin marks. Many Mack Rs have a rubber floor mat fitted, with ribs running side to side in the seating area and running fore and aft in the footwell space. A smooth section of floor mat without any ribs is located under the brake and throttle pedals, and this floor mat is an easy detail addition to your Mack R kit. Ejector pin marks and seat locating tabs are removed from the cab floor. I use a small ball-end carbide mill in the motor tool for this. Because a subfloor is being installed, any minor gouges in the surface are not a concern. Cut a 10 thou piece of styrene sheet to match the cab floor, rounding the back corners as required. This provides a base on which the rest of the cab floor can be built. For future reference, it's helpful to mark this notch where the pedal assembly is located. The rib surface of the floor mat is made from Evergreen HO scale freight car siding. This is 20 thousandths of an inch thick and has grooves which are 0.37 wide milled into its surface. Cut and fit one piece to the interior tub with the ribs running side to side and the front edge located at the middle of the gear shift hole. Laminate this to the 10 thou styrene piece. Although a black styrene doesn't have to be used, it was handy here to show the contrast between the two pieces. Now glue a piece of 20 thou by 60 thou wide styrene strip along the front edge of the rib section. This is that smooth area between the fore and aft ribs and the side-to-side ribs. Using the marks made earlier for the location of the pedal assembly, install a piece of 20 thou plain styrene, cut 425 thou wide, to represent the smooth area below the brake and throttle pedals. Fill in the remaining spaces with additional pieces of HO scale freight car siding, installed with the ribs running front to back. This completes the basic floor mat. Now let's take a look at the installation of the current project truck. Ejector pin marks and seat locating tabs have been ground off using the ball end mill in the motor tool. And with the seats glued down and the floor mat subassembly set in place, the appearance is improving, but the two angled areas in the footwells still look rather unfinished. 3 small styrene panels, 2 made of car siding and 1 in the middle made of smooth 20 thou styrene, can be added here to fill in the gaps. These sections are glued directly to the interior tub and will remain in place when the floor mat subassembly is removed. In a real truck, the rubber floor mat is more flexible and extends further up the firewall. For model purposes, these flat styrene pieces are quite convincing, especially once the dash is installed, because most of the footwell area will be hidden on the completed model. All that remains now is touch-up painting and adding the throttle and brake pedals. This rather bulky looking chrome blob is actually not a bad part. It just needs to have the chrome removed and be turned into 2 separate pedals as opposed to one piece with a large crossbar joining them. Chrome was removed by soaking in purple super clean. The pedals were separated and drilled for 20 thou brass wire pins. These pins also provide a convenient way to hold on to the pedals while they're painted silver, and once the paint is dried, They're installed in corresponding holes drilled into the floor mat subassembly, glued in place, and the pins trimmed off and sanded smooth. When the gluing surface is very small, I prefer drilling and pinning parts like this, rather than relying solely on the glue joint. With the floor mat painted and the pedals installed, the cab floor is now a complete subassembly, which can be installed later in the assembly sequence. This isn't limited to the Mack R model kit, of course. It's equally applicable here on a Ford Louisville, with a section of floor mat, driver and passenger seat, and the gear shift lever all assembled as a unit. And a great advantage of having the cab floor as a separate subassembly is the clean color separation possible between the floor and the cab walls, as seen here. Much easier than trying to mask along the bottom corner of the interior tub. A last example here is an Autocar, and again, the floor mat was made separate with the seats attached, only for this one, I used a smooth piece of styrene rather than a ribbed one. Thanks for watching this brief how-to. Give the separate floor mat and seat subassembly a try on your next model truck project.